Welcome to the 12-Step Recovery Evolution podcast. Visit recoveryevolution.co.uk for more episodes, helpful resources and links to our social media. Also visit the site for information on how you can attend a future Zoom session or workshop live. Thank you.
Right, okay. So to share on, lovely to see you all, by the way, firstly, and yeah, I'm just going to try and be as vulnerable as I can with you, and just give you my experience of going through the amends process, and yeah, and just try and stick to that. And obviously, it's an opportunity to pay testament to and to glorify God, but at the same time I want to kind of stick to the process and not get too in the mix of talking about how godly I am, because I'm not. I try, but I'm really not some days. So right, step 9, I want to just start off with saying that when I kind of I've spent a lot of time in a lot of fellowships over the years, and you know, I messed up some years of abstinence and things like that, right? But I've never really taken the process of the 12 steps. I've got involved in the fellowship side of things, and that'll work for a little while, won't it? Until it done, and then you're probably going to either want to commit suicide or use again, and I used again. Yeah, so that's my experience of that. So this time when I come to, I started off in a detox in Bradford, and the love of my father is what got me in, right? I want to touch on that, right? So yes, I'm grateful to CA, but I'm also grateful to the taxpayer, yeah, and I'm also grateful to the love of my father, who was able to recognise that I was probably going to die, and it was like a last stop hotel, let's pray that this works. And he begged some social services, please help my son. And first of all, they were like, listen, he's a waste man, we don't want to help him, he's abusive to our staff, he hides syringes in our toilets, he uses in the premises, and he don't turn up, and he's not receptive to any kind of help. So they weren't really that keen on the idea, but he persevered, right, out of love, and he kept begging them, please help him, he's going to die. And I was waking up in hospital beds on a weekly basis with wires in my arms and drips and all that sort of stuff, and just absolutely lost and incapable at that point of making any decision, good or bad, for myself. I just used drugs and end up in a comatose state. So thankfully, I believe God used my father to reach out to me. I found myself in a treatment centre. From there, the detox, I had a little moment in there where I took drugs in there with me. I take drugs, any institution I go to, I take drugs, even once I go to try and get clean. So I went in there with drugs on me. After 3 days, they ran out, and I can remember looking out the window, and it was in Bradford, and there was these 6 tower blocks, and the kind of using that I'm from is I generally use around flats and things like that. And my mind went, we know we could score there. And I thought, you know what, yeah, I probably could, yeah. I could get back in the window and they wouldn't know. But I just had that moment that I think a lot of us see it, where I just thought, but I just don't want to do this anymore. And the will to use kind of left. And I can remember sort of, I don't know if it was, I don't think it was a spoken prayer, but it was like deep down inside me, a part of me just thought, I'm just done. I just can't do this anymore, and I'm willing to try. And I think it was like a kind of heartfelt prayer, but not in words, if you like, right? So I went from there to a rehab in Luton, and then that closed down, and I ended up at ECR. And I come in there with a little bit of knowledge about the big book, because of past times that I've been in treatment and fellowships and things, and hiding behind that to a point, you know, trying to be liked, wanting to fit in, and the ego and all that gear that we all suffer with, right? But I think that people in there could sort of see they dealt with thousands of Dannies, and most of them were Dannies, and so they knew, and they could kind of recognise. And I I can remember I'd be talking to Sonia, trying to explain to her about step 7 and all that stuff. And she used to just smile and look at me and go, "How are you getting on with that first step work, Dan?" And then walk away from me. And it used to, like, really, you know, she had a way of kind of cutting through all my nonsense and just making me think, oh yeah, that's right. Taking me back down to, like, you know, earth. And so I kind of, you know, like all of us do, went through the pretty thorough, if I'm honest, step process in the ECR, which I'm absolutely grateful for, because I've been in loads of treatment centres and loads of them had touched on that stuff, but they've never really stuck to the big book, if you like. So I kind of went through that, and I can remember it come to sort of time to leave, and I was going back out into the big wide world and going back to Luton. I mean, why did you want to choose Luton? It's a place to go back to, I don't know, but I did. And went back there. And I can remember before I left, right, talking to Sonia and just saying, I've got a couple of claims on the go from the prison system, right? And they was moody claims, right? What I'd done, I see a bit of water on the floor one day. And I looked, and the screws weren't looking, right? And it was outside the cameras, and the plumber fella weren't looking. So I went and laid on the floor next to the water and went, ah, like that. And as he turned round, I said, I fell over, I slipped on the water. I got all the medical files drawn up, everything else, right? And I'd have probably won the claim. And I had another one where they'd released me without the methadone scripts, and I ended up homeless because I couldn't go in the hostel. And I knew I could have won the claim, so I was kind of about that, right? And I spoke to Sonia and I said, you know, I want to kind of get these claims because I want to get some money for Shirley, my daughter. That was the lie, right? And she clocked it, right? And she went, "Dan, let them go. They're not important, right?" And I was like, in my mind, I'm like, but I could get thousands of pounds. Right? And she went, "Dan, it's dishonest, let it go." And I think at that moment, I just thought, you know what, I'm just going to give this a chance. So I just fucked them both off. And I'm glad I did, because things have worked out. Right? I believe if I'd have done that, they might have looked different. Anyway, so that was kind of like a little start with it. I think the amends process, so I got to see through the step 4 and 5 that I'd been pretty unfair to my father, that he'd lived in anxiety for a lot of years, that I'd been violent towards him. I blamed him for the breakup of the family, all that kind of stuff, and just been really, really spiteful and horrible to him, right? And going through the sort of step 4 process kind of made me see that actually, look, he's just tried to love you. He's just tried to be there for you over the years, right? And you've been blaming him and taking everything out on him, and sort of made the CA in the area that I was. It was a kind of very I regret the past. I'm doing my utmost to change. And is there anything you'd like to say? And when I kind of look back, even though it was received well by him, it was a bit of a self-seeking affair. It was kind of, the amends is about me, and I've got to get it right for me. And it wasn't really that much thought for him, but it was a start, right? So I'm not going to give myself another time. It was a start. And thankfully, like a lot of our parents do, he was like, "Son, I don't care about any of that. I'm just happy that you're back, and I'm happy you're well, and all the rest of it," right? And so that was nice, and we started sort of forming a relationship. He always loved me, loads anyway, always done everything he could for me. I was the problem, right? So he was just happy to have his son back. That was all he ever wanted. With me mum, it was a strange sort of dynamic. She left when we was quite young as kids, and I can remember sort of 8 years old, going off out the door with a new fella, and just sort of hanging on her leg and going, "Mum, please don't go," right? And she pushed us away and threw a load of change at us and said, "Oh, fuck off," and all that horrible stuff, right? And I guess she was in pain herself in some sort of way at the time, right? Because it's not normal for a mother to behave like that, is it, right? And so I had a lot of sort of bitterness towards her. And in the sense of, I think on the group we was talking the other day, even though she'd been abusive in a lot of ways and neglectful, I still craved her love. Yeah, I was still desperate to have that love. And when she sort of ended up leaving, it left me in a place of thinking, why don't she love me no more? What have I done wrong? And I used to beg her, please, can we come and live with you? And, you know, she'd say things like, oh, well, I would have you, but your father won't let me. I mean, it wasn't true. Right? She bought a one-bedroom flat. She never intended to have us. But I think at that time, if she'd have turned round and said, listen, the truth is I'm moving on and you can't come and live with me, I might have been able to get a bit more acceptance around it. But I guess her guilt and shame blocked her off in a way. So anyway, I kind of went through life from that moment, scared stiff of love, very hurt, very damaged. And on a kind of subconscious level, I kind of think, I thought, I'm never going to let anyone hurt me like that again. I'm never going to let anyone get that close to me again. And so when it came to making the amends with her, I kind of went there with my little script of paper, you know, I regret the past and all that stuff. And I went in there, and in my mind, I thought, what's going to happen here? Because I used to listen to other people's shares and other perception of what the amend was going to look like, right? In my fantasy, it went like this. I'm going to go there. She's going to welcome me in. We're going to sit down, have a bit of cake and a cup of tea or something. And then I'm going to say, Mum, I need to talk to you. And she's going to go, okay, son. And I'm going to read out this amend, and she's going to scatter rose petals at my feet and say, I love you, son, and smother me in kisses. And it's all going to be skipping around in fields of daisies. And it wasn't, right? What happened is I said, Mum, I need to talk to you. I need to and she looked really uncomfortable, yeah. And she said, okay. And I read the scrap of paper out, and she looked even more uncomfortable, and then changed the subject really quickly. And it was like there's a big elephant in the room. Neither of us wanted to sort of look at it. And he just felt very uncomfortable. And I said, all right, nice to see you, Mum. Walked out of there, and this is what my mind sounded like. You fucking bitch. That's what it sounded like, right? But what I did was run around the fellowships telling everyone I've made all my amends and I feel happy, joyous and free. And I don't know, I suppose again, kind of falling into that, worrying about what everyone thinks of me, and I want to be the perfect little addict in here with you lot. I want to be the worst drug addict. My using was far worse than everyone on the planet. But recovery-wise, I want to kind of go 180 degrees. And yeah, so that was kind of that. So I walked out of there with bitterness in my heart, is what I'm saying, right? And I'll move on to that a little bit later, what sort of happened with that. Other amends I made, my nan, right? When I think I was about 20 years old, and I was in prison for some nonsense violence offence, right? And she come up to visit me, and that involved her getting on a bus, right, travelling about 40 miles, coming to her prison, yeah. And she was a good, honest Christian woman, right? She didn't have nothing to do with prisons or dishonesty, but she come to see her grandson, right? So she come to the prison, and the screw carts myself, and I was waiting on a visit from some friends to get some drugs, and they said, you got a visit, Simo? And I said, all right, cool. And just before I got me T-shirt on or whatever, I said, who is it, by the way? He was on the VO, right? And he went, oh, it's your nan, right? I said, tell her I don't want to see her. When I say that now, I feel ashamed even saying that, right? I said, tell her I don't want to see her, because I wanted to get the drugs. That came first, right? I had no awareness of what she'd gone through, how she must be feeling. Anyway, she told me years later, she said, they came back down at the gate. She said, I was holding on to my handbag because I'm surrounded by all these wrongings. And she said, they came back down, and he said, sorry, your grandson don't want to see you. And she had to turn around. She said, I had to turn around and walk out of there with everyone looking at me. And she said, I've never felt so ashamed in my life. One, I was ashamed that my grandson was even in prison, but then I'd come all that way to see him, and he knocked me back. And that's sad, isn't it, you know? But anyway, that's kind of moving on. The amend, when I kind of come through ECR, I started visiting my nan, and she was in an old people's home, and she wasn't in good shape. Her eyes were failing, her ears were failing. She was 103 years old, right? So she had a good innings. But I started going to visit her, and then I think the second or third time I went to visit her, as we went in, they said she's refusing to eat her food and she won't take her medication. Maybe you can have a word with her. And when I went in the room, she had bed sores all over her. She hadn't been out of the room for about 6 months. She couldn't see the telly. She couldn't hear the radio. She was ready to go. And she just kept saying over and over and over again, I just want to go back to the father now. I've had enough, right? And I can remember saying to her, I was in tears and Tina was with me, and I was like, Nan, just take your medication, eat some food, right? And then a little voice said to me, don't be so fucking selfish. Let her go, yeah? And for me, it was like, so you can come here once a week, Dan, and see her for half an hour. You expect her to hang on. She's got no life and she's ready to go. And she wanted to go back to my granddad. And I can remember asking her before she went, I said, what's the most important things in life, man? And she said, never lose sight of your faith because it's all true. And it was like she was starting to leave her body. Anyway, I went to a meeting that night and I got a call and they said she's passed away. And went to her funeral. And it was a celebration of life, you know what I mean? But it was nice to be around my family and be able to support them through that. So, you know, I kind of had an opportunity. And that's another thing. She said to me, I can go now that I know you're all right. And moments like that stay with you, don't they? So that was that. I had, when I was my ex, the mother of my daughter, right, she had another daughter who was older, and she witnessed a lot of stuff she shouldn't have seen. Like one morning, I woke up about 6, and I was rattling, right? And so I went in the kitchen, knocked up a hit in a syringe, yeah. And then I used to inject in the top of my leg. People say it's your groin, but it's the vein that runs down the top of your leg. So I'm doing that, and as I've looked up, she's standing there. She's about 6, 7 years old, looking at me with her wide eyes and her mouth open. And I went, Millie, and she ran in the bedroom. Right? And I think, my God, that's terrible. I used to hide syringes in her room, steal her things, all that sort of stuff. And, you know, really wretched, horrible stuff. And when I kind of come to the end with her, I sort of went through it with someone. And I think it's important to get someone to go through things with you, innit? Because you can end up going in there and saying so much. And the guy said to me, look, I think when she's ready, make the apology, but she's still a child, so maybe this one could be an indirect amends, right? So every opportunity you get, I want you to help her out financially and support her best you can. And I'm not going to go into a long thing of all the wonderful things that I've done because, you know, I just do what I can, but still in touch with her today and still give her support where we can. My ex's father, obviously, I put a knife to my ex's throat, got banged up with it, threatened to kill her, things like that. And, you know, I could blame that on, I was on crack at the time when I was paranoid, but I'm still accountable. And obviously he wasn't very keen on me. And the idea, I mean, they're part of the travelling community. You know, they're a bit lively, let's say. And the idea of going back to him and saying, yeah, Norman, can I have a word? It's like, oh no, I don't want to do this. The last sort of statement they made to me was, you come anywhere near our land, Danny, and we'll bury you in it. And they meant it. I make them right. So, but the sort of, Shirley had a birthday party, an opportunity presented itself, and I sort of said, Norman, can I have a word? And he said, yeah. And I sort of said to him, look, I really regret the way that I behaved, and I'm trying to change now. And he said, just look after my granddaughter, right? And that was about all he said, but that was what he asked of me, and that's what I tried to do, right? I just want to touch on something quickly, right? Because it's really easy to get carried away with how nice you are and all these amends of it, right? So I was about a year deep in the fellowships, running around Luton, sponsoring probably 25% of the room, and doing the typical step 1, step 12, right? As long as you lot think my recovery's going great and I'm getting a pat on the back for being his best sponsor and sounding spiritual, then everything's great. And the truth is, I used to go home at night, sit down with my mate Kevin, yeah, and absolutely assassinate everyone in the meeting. Did you hear what he said? Fucking mug. Gets around even a fucking addict. And she's come there, yeah. It's just horrible. It's pouring out of me. And I think what ended up happening, me and Kevin used to text each other backwards and forwards, slagging off various people in the meetings, right? This couple of girls, yeah, and saying, you know, just, I'm not going to say what, just horrible, horrible stuff, right? And what happened, a friend of ours was getting clean again, and Kevin had smashed the screen on his phone, and he said, yeah, mate, I'll let you have this phone and get screen fixed, you can have it. But he hadn't deleted all the messages off it. and the geezers in the fellowship were in. All of a sudden, I'm getting multiple phone calls off people like, "Oh, mate, like, I'm a bit upset. I've just seen a message that you wrote about me, saying this and that." And it was like the picture that I was presenting, Mr. Nice, Mr. Spiritual, weren't true, and it got exposed in the meetings I'm regularly attending, and I had to go around and make a lot of amends to people, and it was quite a scary process, if I'm honest, because the real me got presented, you know, and I believe, you know, there's powers at work in the background. Anyway, so what else can I talk about? The police. I had massive resentment. So I remember sitting down with this dude in ACR called Alan Mitchell, and I was reading out a resentment to him, and it was like, yeah, I'm resentful of the police, you know, they're this, they're that, they tucked me up, they stitched me up, they did this, they did that, they bullied me, I just saw that horribleness, and he was like, oh, right, what's the effect? And I said, and he went, and what's your part in it? And I said a load of stuff, and he went, Dan. I went, what? He went, you're a criminal. I was like, yeah, I know, but. And he went, no, just stop there a minute, right? You're a criminal. They're doing their job, right? And it hit me. It was like penny drop. It was so obvious, but I couldn't see it. And I just thought, oh no, he's right. He said, listen, it's really simple, this idea. Stop being a criminal and he'll cease to feature in your life. And that's what happened. So I've not seen him since. Yeah, but I kind of, I had to sort of I was a PPO when I first came in, and, you know, because I committed a lot of really petty offences. I was a pain in the arse and a pest for them, really. And I had to kind of go back and see them and apologise. And then I remember them ringing me up one day, and they were like, we're really pleased with your progress, Danny, and we just wanted to sort of let you know we're signing you off the scheme, and good luck and everything. And just before you go, could we just take your most relevant address? I was like, oh yeah, no problem. And, you know, sort of really lapping up the praise off. And then about 2 days later, I must have got about 10 envelopes through the post of all these outstanding court fines. I remember like thinking, oh mate, what a liberty. But it was right, you know, I had to pay him. So I kind of got on with paying them. So that was that, the prison service. You know, really, when I look back, yeah, as much as I hated being in them places, them MOTs definitely helped save my life. And if it wasn't for, I mean, I used to go in prison, and you know, like how we are, like read a few books on the craze, and when you're younger, you might be on some wings with some people who are half sensible in that life. You know, I'm not saying any of them are sensible, but in that kind of dynamic. And but years later, my prison existence was on drug wings, yeah, where there was more nurses than there was prison officers. And most people on there had a fucking few teeth missing and was about 8 stone, like stumbling about, but still talking in rhyming slang, thinking they're gangsters. And it was just like an hospital for lunatics. Yeah, so I was kind of caught up in that. But I mean, them people really, I had overdoses in there. I smuggled drugs and syringes in and get carried in at the nurse's office on a blue mattress, like, you know, unconscious. And, you know, them people really helped. And I can remember, you know, I kind of got involved in HNI, which I thought, well, that's a little way where I can kind of pay something back there. And, yeah, and it was, I went with Paul Mears a little while back. I went down to a meeting at Chelmsford Prison, which is a prison I spent a lot of time in. And I went up there to do, you know, one of these little talks that we do. And a few of the staff and the nurses come up, and I remember this woman, big African woman, Cynthia. She was lovely, and I used to be really abusive to her. She was always kind, but I just, you know, if she turned her back, I'd try and nick the syringe, being not away, right? And just causing chaos. And she walked in the room, burst into tears, and she was like, I'm sorry, and she gave me a hug, and then I looked around, Paul was in tears, and it was like a real mad moment. And then she left, and she come back up, and she went, I've just got to see you again. And she said, you know, we rarely get people who actually come out of here and move forward, you know. And she said, it makes it worth it just to see one out of thousands who come. If just one can get free, then all the effort we put in it was worth it. And you know, it kind of makes me feel a bit emotional, that really. So yeah, I mean, that's that. Your mum and dad, I want to get back to that quickly. So, you know, things went really well with my dad. We built a really good relationship and we become friends. You know, I remember the first time I tried to hug him, because there's that natural fellowship stuff we do, and we start hugging everyone. First time I tried to hug him, he was like a block of ice. He was like, "What are you doing? Oh my God, what's going on?" And but I mean, as time's gone on, we softened up a lot, and we've had some really deep chats, you know. And you know, and it turns out that my granddad was really critical, nasty man, really. I mean, I'm sure he had his good points, but maybe his father was like that as well. But my father got bullied quite a lot and see a lot of abuse and things when he was young. And so it's not surprising that he was a little bit critical. And we sort of spoke about that, and we laugh about it, if I'm honest. But I'm much more like him than what I think I am. And yeah, it's a nice relationship today. I want to say that when I was first clean, I never noticed that years had gone by and he got old and grey. And I used to ring up and he didn't always get to the phone in time. And then I'd get a call straight back and he'd be like, "Is everything all right? Are you okay?" And I could hear the panic in his voice, the anxiety still. And I'd become sort of convicted, if you like, that that was a result of how I'd been. And I thought, I don't want him to live like this anymore. I don't know how much longer he's going to be here. Hopefully a while, but I don't know. And I thought the rest of his time on the planet, I want him to have some peace and be able to sort of feel proud of his son, not ashamed. And, you know, he tried to commit suicide over the way my life turned out. That's the truth. And it didn't work, thankfully. But I'll ring him up now, and it's like, it might be a couple of 3 days ago by, and I'll get a call back. He's like, "Hello, son, sorry I missed your call the other day. Everything all right?" And he sounds calm, and that makes me happy. You know what I mean? That he can get on with his life now, and he tells me about his hobbies and the things he's doing, and we communicate. So that's nice. With my mum, I had to have a bit of help there. So I was kind of unaware of it, right? But Lester helped me with it, funny enough. And other people had tried to, but I weren't hearing them. And I think it's just the way he said it, it hits that. So he was talking to me, and he said, "As you amends and that?" And I said, "Yeah, I've done them all." And there we are. And he went, "Oh, right, okay. How's things with your mum?" And I thought, wow, of all the ones he could have said, why did he have to choose that one? And I said, "Yeah, you know, yeah, it ain't too bad, you know." And he said, "How often do you see her?" I said, "About once a year." "She's not very maternal." He went, "One, that's not your job to discuss. That's not your job to decide. You don't know what she is, right?" And what I want to sort of focus on is, you know, you just said you only see her once a year, but you said the amends made, right? And I was like, "Well, yeah, you know, it's a bit strained and that." And he said, "So is the relationship functional?" And I said, "No, not really." And he said, "So it's what?" And I was like, "Dysfunctional." And he went, "Yeah, correct, right. So there's no real progress, is there?" And I was like, "No." And he said, "Explain to me what happened before." I said, "I went there, read out the little script. She didn't respond how I thought she should. And so I left there thinking, you fucking bitch." And that's about as far as we've got." And he said, "So it's no surprise the relationship hasn't improved much then." And I said, "No." And he said, "It's not really about you though, is it? Right? You're going there to make things right with her." And I had a kind of a little mission from him, right? That I would go there, take her out for some food, and make it a regular thing. And when I went there, I weren't allowed to talk about the big book or the steps. And I was like, "What? Like, how's right?" And he said, "Just give it a try, right? She's, I can't quote in his exact words, but something along the lines of, let her be the mum and you be the son, yeah? And go there and engage in what she wants to talk about." She likes talking about politics. I don't know much about politics, right? But I just try and, even if it bores the shit out of me, I said, which she don't, as it happens, I try and listen and engage. And what's happened is conversations started flowing between us, right? Because it wasn't all about me. And I found that we actually get on all right. And we'd probably still be strained. It's not always that easy, but it's a lot better than what it was when we touched regularly. So that's that. I think one thing that I kind of, I was always so worried about what other people thought, and I'd write out reams and reams of inventory about, you know, the problem and how I saw it and all that. and just got stuck in the scenery and the trees and all that stuff, right? And I've sort of found that I got a bit of advice off someone, and they said, you know, the courage to change the things you can, right? So sometimes if I'm in a situation where my feelings have been hurt or perceived the situation, it's all right for me to talk to the person and say, look, you know, I might have got this a little bit wrong the other day, but you know, when you said that, yeah, it upset me a little bit, and I just wanted to sort of talk to you about it and find out if I've received it wrong, and just wondered if you could explain what you meant. And I found that, you know, more time than not, people will either say one or two things. They'll either say, no, I didn't mean that at all. What I meant was this. Or they'll realise their feelings, and then they'll say, I'm really sorry, I didn't mean to do that. And it's kind of cool because, one, it saves me walking around with bitterness on my heart, yeah, seeing them in a meeting, going, hello, mate, you all right, love you, and all that stuff, but really in my heart, hating them, yeah. And two, it saves me from walking away thinking, Dan, you coward. You should have said what you meant, but you didn't, all right? So I end up resenting me, yeah? And I don't want to live like that anymore. So more time it goes all right anyway, don't happen that often. My little daughter, obviously, want to touch on that, and also communicating with my partner, Tina. You know, it's funny, isn't it? I get people say sometimes, oh yeah, but it's all right with you and Tina are together and everything's rosy. And I think, you have no idea what we've been through. You know, you see us and, you know, we've been on holiday or something, you just perceive that everything's rosy all the time, and it generally is, but we've had to work hard at that. You know, it's been a lot of time on the phone talking to people, you know, not able to accept certain ways she might be or things she's doing or the way I perceive and blah, blah, blah. And kind of just continuing to apply this process, staying accountable, and getting some guidance off people who've got half a clue, who might have been there before, and listening and spending a bit of quiet time. And not staying stuck in fear and in what goes on in my mind and believing that's reality. Talking to people and just sort of saying, you know, I'll tell you this happened the other day and I didn't really, and then getting her feedback, and then we come back together instead of pulling apart. We have union. And yeah, we kind of try and make sure that I try and put her first, she tries to put me first. If things come up, we try and make a joint decision on it. And, you know, I don't just disregard her all the time. Obviously, I'm not perfect and I get shit wrong, but try and be a little bit considerate. And I find that when we're doing that, the relationship generally tends to look pretty good. And just lastly, my daughter. So she didn't see any of the carnage, thankfully. Social services and that kind of, they ended up going down to near Croydon and on my auntie's site down there. Not my auntie's, Abby's, my ex's site down there. And for a long time, I weren't allowed to see her, you know, because they'd heard it all before. Oh, yeah, he's getting clean again, is he? Right, oh, yeah, we've heard this before. And so they wanted to see some action. Yeah, actions speak louder than words, don't they? And so it kind of involved, you know, me persevering and turning up. And I used to, you know, like we're in the fellowship and I'm one of them. I've done a bit of prison and I like to act hard. I'm not, but I like to act it. I'm scared of what you lot think in some form, I guess. But anyway, so that's my thing, and I'm got all that nonsense. But I used to go and lay in the bath at night, right, when I weren't allowed to see her, and I used to cry, yeah, because I missed her so much. I so wanted her in my life, and I never thought it was going to happen. I thought, it ain't going to work out. And I just sort of thought, you know what, just persevere, one foot in front of the other, keep doing your best. And after a little while, I think about 18 months, they said, you know what, we believe that you're sincere, so you can see her. But you can't, we don't want you to say you're a daddy yet, just be grandpa's friend. And it was like, you know, meeting her, and she was a wonderful little girl, and I had to sort of stay in the background a little bit. But as time went on, they said, you know what, it's time now, you can tell her. And I remember going to her, and it was like, Shirley, I'm your daddy, yeah. And her little eyes lit up, yeah. And she was like, what, I've got a daddy? And it's just, I feel emotional talking about it now, but yeah, so that was a kind of cool moment. And you got to clock the little miracles as you go along, in you, where, you know, God working in your life. So yeah, take her out to the theatre sometimes. We've got her living here at the minute, and she's here for a few weeks, and just trying to be mates with her, but not be her best mate at the same time. You know, I've got a role here, and it's a parent, and got to try and, I don't know, give her the best opportunities in life, but don't spoil her, yeah, because I have a tendency to try and do that as well. Other people spoke about it recently, haven't they? But, you know, where I want to lavish her with gifts and that. And sometimes I think I don't want to create a brat, a spoiled brat, who goes through life thinking like, you know, just make a noise and I get what I want. And just try and give her a little bit of discipline, but lovingly, getting her to do her schoolwork, do little chores each day, and then get out. And she's like, I want to play on the iPad. And I'm like, no, we're going out for a walk. And then she has fun. But seeing her a little while back, we went to see a show in London, and she's dancing about in the chairs. She thought she was on the stage with them, and it was magical just watching her little eyes. Yeah, I think she's a little princess. She's got me wrapped around that, but it's okay. So yeah, that's me. Thanks a lot. Love you.